Detroit Lions will rise.
All right, Adam Schefter has released a statement a little while ago stating that the Titans have granted permission to former Pro Bowl linebacker Harold Landry to seek a trade. Obviously, per sources close to Adam Schefter at the Combine this week, Landry did start all 17 games last season. He finished with 71 tackles, 9 sacks, 18 pressures, and 4 pass deflections. He's 28 years old, 31.5 sacks in the last 3 seasons he has played, and is due $17.5 million as a base salary in 2025 and 2026. You're probably wondering, what does this have to do with the Lions? Well, it has a lot to do with the Lions, to be honest with you. We could use an extremely good outside linebacker that just so happens to have a really good knack at getting to the quarterback and creating some waves. So did a little digging here. Wanted to dig into the Titans, why they're doing this. You know, what's going on? Is Harold just not a good player? That's not the answer, right? What's going on here? So Landry's trade situation is more of the Tennessee Titans' new philosophy, I believe. Now, they have officially allowed Landry to seek a trade. This is what happens during the Combine. There's going to be a rash of players that are going to be mentioned. There's going to be plenty that we think are fits for the Lions. And I'll say before I get to the end, I'll give you an idea. I think Landry fits, just not yet. But if you wait, you'll figure out why. The Titans GM, Borgonzi, I think is how you say his last name, has had a significant shift in his roster strategy, if you will. And it appears that it's more rooted in desire to reduce the team's salary cap burden, especially with a guy like Landry who's due what would be $24 million in 2025. And he says that it's excessive related to his on-field contributions. Don't you hate that? Like you get paid to do something and then you have kind of a down year or bad month and someone wants to claw back all your commission or something? Like that's just not how it works, right? Now, this decision has been following what I believe to be more of a pattern for Tennessee, especially under Borgonzi, who seems less inclined to retain players whose contracts really do not align with what their performance was on the field, their performance levels. Now, how do I know this? Well, here's a few quotes. Quote, Landry's scheduled 2025 cap charge of $24 million is viewed as bloated. End quote. Kind of indicates the financial implications of retaining him. Here's another one. Quote, his effective pass rush grade of 49.6 was the worst on the team. End quote. I guess that kind of highlights the concerns of on-field performance. And then there's this one. Quote, the Titans recorded a third worst 32 sacks. End quote. Well, how can you blame Harold Landry for all of that? This is a team football game. But again, it does emphasize a need for the Titans. And I think that they kind of just let their hand out with what they're going to do with the first overall pick. What's the market for Landry? Well, that's the booming question, or the looming question, I should say. Harold Landry obviously has had Pro Bowls, right? I think at least 1 or 2. He's definitely a valuable asset, and no matter where he lands, and definitely on the trade market, he's going to be highly sought after. His performance metrics, including his ability to pressure the quarterback, defend against the run, make him a very attractive option for teams that are looking to bolster not only their linebacker core, but somebody that can be used on the outside, off-ball situation, get after the quarterback. So the interest by other franchises is likely going to be high, especially given the scarcity of not only elite linebackers, but elite defensive ends. As Brad Holmes let us know yesterday, they're just not on the market. So when guys like Harold Landry become available, they're coveted, right? These are guys that fit 2 needs, linebacker and can get after the quarterback. And that's why I think he's a great fit for the Detroit Lions, because we definitely need an outside linebacker. But I am a little bit worried about the contract, because if I was okay with $24 million or $17.5 million for Harold Landry, why would we not be okay to spend another $10, $12, $14 million for Myles Garrett? No, it doesn't work that way. You're talking 2 totally different tiers. You're talking a tier 2 guy and a Harold Landry from a contract perspective, almost tier 1. And then you're talking Myles Garrett, which is the elite max contracts that extremely expensive. Hardly any teams can handle those contracts for more than a couple of seasons. So if you look at a performance analysis from Harold Landry, it would tell you this. It's come under some scrutiny this last season. Now, he had a torn ACL, and following the torn ACL, really it limited his effectiveness, but he still recorded 9 sacks in 2024. He led the Titans defense. Deeper metrics reveal a little bit of inconsistency, though. And PFF, or Pro Football Focus, did assign him a pass rush grade of 49.6. That's not good. But he's not essentially a pass rusher. He's not an edge rusher. He kind of does a couple of different things here. He's really good in coverage, which I would love to have a great coverage linebacker on this roster. So I guess when you look at, him being one of the lowest graded Titans players with a minimum snap count requirement of, I think it's 300 snaps. Yeah, it doesn't look good, but the 30 pressures ranked him 3rd on the team. And that only trailed Jeffrey Simmons, again, another player that they're trying to walk away from, and Arden Key. Now, this discrepancy really highlights a critical issue for the Titans, which I believe, Landry may have excelled in terms of counting stats, if you will, but his overall performance or impact on the game was kind of limited. But so was that defense. Defense was terrible. The Lions just tore him to shreds. Now, if you look at implications in the draft, and I think that this is where this is going, the Titans' defensive struggles, they're underlined at this point. Everybody understands what's going on there. It's evidenced by the 3rd worst total of 32 sacks last season. It does underscore the fact that urgency of addressing the pass rush or the middle of the defense of the linebacker core, that's what they're going to do, or the outside, which is where I think they're going. Landry's potential of leaving the team does leave open a window of opportunity for the Titans to kind of reset what they're doing as far as, cap-wise, if they're able to move off of him. This is a post-June 1 release. So remember when I said earlier that I think he can fit the Lions, just not yet? This is going to be a post-June thing if the Lions get their hands on Landry. I do not expect a trade for Landry. I wouldn't expect a trade in the Titans to cover salary or anything like that. They're trying to get rid of salary. And I think it's very significant that the Titans are facing this void, and they have the number 1 overall pick. Hello, you just gave out your hand what you're going to do with number 1. It is not a quarterback. The Tennessee Titans are doing one of two things. They are taking Abdul Carter, or they are trading back to stay probably within the top 3. So they could still get Abdul Carter or still get a quarterback of the future, if you believe one of those is the future. Or Travis Hunter, which I'm sure they have 4 or 5 players that they would love to have on this team, and any one of them fits a need for the Tennessee Titans. So targeting Abdul Carter, I think that he's clearly wanting to be the number 1 overall pick, and I think that this makes big sense for the Titans, that if they're going to get rid of Landry, who definitely has the ability next season to have a much better season, I think he's proven himself that way. I'm looking at his stats earlier. In 23, he had 10.5 sacks. 21, he had 12. In 2020, 2019, and 2018, he racked up, another 20 sacks. 50.5 sacks over his career. Not a bad stat line, right? It's only been, 6 seasons. So he's averaging about 8 sacks a season. That's pretty solid for a linebacker. So I think the consensus is now, with many of the analysts around the league, is that the Tennessee Titans are going to target Abdul Carter or trade back. I believe that. I think the future strategy for the Titans, exploring various options at the number 1 pick, it makes sense. If you can move off of Landry right now, you're not going to get a trade, not from the Lions, at least in my opinion. But I would not be opposed to having Harold Landry on this roster after June 1, when they can save some money. And if he's released, well, obviously he can work out a new deal with the Detroit Lions that makes sense, because if he's released, the Titans are going to save about $13.5 million this season. If he's a post-June release, it'd be about $17.5 million this season. There'll be a dead cap hit of $6.5 million in each of the next 2 seasons for the Titans, and then the Lions can restructure a deal with him probably in that $8, $9, $10 million range, which I think is perfect for an outside linebacker, at least for this season. Harold Landry to the Detroit Lions. He makes a lot of sense. I think he's going to have a bounce-back 2025 season. I also feel that the Titans are going after Abdul Carter with a move like this. Join us next time for more Minute Notes on Combine News and Rumors. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Bye-bye.
Detroit Lions will